Hey, how was the history lesson? Thank you all so much for coming out. You see, it's important to tell the story. And what's even more important is to get the story right. I'm sure a lot of you out there probably heard about the old African proverb, the tale of the hunt, in which the hunt is always glorifying the hunter. Rarely do you hear from the perspective of the lion. And what I say to folks all the time, the lions are not telling the story. The reason I decided to do Marcus Garvey's story, I was approached by his son, Dr. Julius Garvey, back about 6 or 7 years ago. And I was just blown away when he approached me to do a story about his father. And I looked at myself and I said, listen, I don't look like Spike Lee or Steven Spielberg. But he goes, you know, I saw one of your films, Roy, and I want us to do this thing. Unfortunately, I had to say no to him because I was finishing up my second documentary. And I said, you know, Dr. Garvey, when I put my mind to something, I like to give it my 100%. And I can't do it. But as luck would have it, we reconnected a couple of years later, laid the framework for what you just saw today, and we're able to bring his story. All right? Thank you. And another thing, Marcus Garvey, the way his story has been told in print and also on television and so forth, it's been in a less than positive light. So, you know, I wanted to change the narrative. I wanted to pay homage to a person who was larger than life, but also who was a human being. And I set out in telling the story and telling people that this is not a propaganda piece. I wanted to look at his life, warts and all. And that's the best way that we can learn from what Marcus Garvey did. You know, the way that he was able to inspire, you know, generations of folks that came after him. And I just wanted to let people know that, as I said in the film, the whole term black is beautiful didn't come from the 60s. It started way, way back when this short man from Jamaica stepped up the ladder in 135th and Lenox and says, "You are the new Negro. No need for you to be looking down anymore when you're walking on the sidewalk. You're just as good as them." So I wanted to put out what's been called, you know, the most definitive story on Marcus Garvey to date. And if people say that I'm brash by saying that, they can say I'm brash because the critics have said that. So if there's any questions out in the audience, I'd love to answer. Yes, go ahead.
Mine is more of a comment. I was, at 8 years old, I was a Garveyite in the 60s, and this put my whole childhood. I was saying thank you for this because I'm a 60s baby, and at 8 I was a Garveyite, and my mom was a Black Panther in Chicago, and this put what happened in perspective for me as a child then, because I remember those negative media coverage about him, and I always wondered what happened. Why didn't we go? What happened? So thank you for putting that together and making sense of my life.
You're welcome. I think if Marcus Garvey had set foot in Africa, all hell will have broke loose. Go ahead.
My question is about the assets, like the stock footage and the documents of when. How long did it take you to gather that information, and can you speak to that process?
Long time. And believe it or not, I did all the research myself. I procured all the stock footage. I didn't have a team. It was myself and my wife, Allison Anderson, my co-producer. But they have this thing under the U.S. copyrights law. I believe it's called fair use, that you can use a certain portion of it. And if you can show that you made a valiant attempt to license that product, with the copyright holder, and you're not able to, then you can use it if it's depicted in a historical sequence. So that's what I was able to do. But I did purchase some of the archival photographs, especially of Marcus Garvey from the Vandersea family. So I was able to get some stuff from them. And where I couldn't get archival stuff, we just went ahead and just be creative, and we did our reenactments in Jamaica with our actors and so forth. And the actor who played Marcus Garvey, this was his first gig as an actor. And I will tell him that. But what was important for me was that in trying to humanize this man, I wanted people, when they look at this actor's face, to do a double take. So am I really, is this Marcus?
Yeah.
And even Julius Garvey looked at this actor and says, he might have been my father when he was younger. So I knew that I hit the mark there. So that's how I was able to come together and put it all together.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How long did it take?
I went into production summer of 2017, and did last shot was enhancement photography around January, February of 2020. And as I said, I did all the research myself. I probably read about 20 books, and I probably, glossed over or streamed over many pages on the internet, but it was all worth it. Didn't lose my wife in the process.
Yeah, I just, in terms of the history of Marcus Garvey, I know you can't all fit it all, unless you have like a series, right? But the story of Garvey and the UNIA in New Orleans, and personalities like Queen Mother Audrey Moore, those are such great stories in relation to Garvey and Garveyism and Pan-Africanism and Black liberation. So what process did you use in terms of was it solely to be focused on Marcus Garvey or the inner circle or?
Great question. And this was a classic biographical piece. I wanted to focus on the man. And I know that, in screening the film at some locations around the world, I was chided for not including more the women of the Garvey movement. And I said there was a reason why I didn't do that. I didn't want to dismiss their importance to the whole struggle. But I wanted to lay the focus straight on Marcus Garvey. There's just so much out there on him, and I know that with this film, I laid the framework from where others with other levels of expertise may want to join in that conversation and may want to do the women of the Garvey movement. And hopefully we don't all see movies that focus on the negativity around Marcus Garvey, like The Marked Man, a movie that's coming up, that's going to be focusing on man that infiltrated the Garvey movement. His story is more than that. His story is more than that.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about Obama. What the hell, excuse me. What was the story about not wanting to give Marcus Garvey the,
Unfortunately, I cannot answer for President Obama.
Actually, no, not that you can answer. Whose idea was it to go to him? And when was this done? When was it spoken to?
There was, I believe there was an effort afoot to get 100,000 signatures. And I think once you get 100,000 signatures, it automatically triggers a response from the White House. I don't believe that they were able to do that, unfortunately. I think there was another effort this past February, And I'm not sure if that, if that bore fruit. But I think art really can help to change things. If you look at, I believe there was a film about who shot Malcolm X. And I think based on that, that resulted in some exoneration of some folks that were initially charged. So what we do is very, very important. And I'm not saying I did this film as a vehicle to do that. But if there are folks out there, activists who want to use this film as a means towards, putting some pressure on the powers that be, you have my permission. We have a screening in DC. I believe it's going to be around the second week in June, and we're going to be inviting some members from the Congressional Black Caucus to come to the screening, and I believe it'll give them a chance to amplify their voices. Anything is possible.
So, thank you for doing this. This is like the second more factual documentary I've seen on Marcus Garvey, and it's very well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then also wanted to say, part of our people perish for lack of knowledge, right? So the young people, how can we get this in front of more young people? Where can we have access to this information, even if it's just excerpts or whatever it is? I'm an educator.
Great question. All right, so I can tell you this. What's going on right now, I have a sales agent that's pushing the film. Unfortunately, a couple of the major streamers have passed on it, but I feel positive that it will find a home. I feel even more positive that in the educational realm, that it's going to just go around the world a bunch of times. I have 2 educational distributors right now that are just waiting for my signature to get this film out. But I didn't want to preempt the commercial release of the film. But I have to tell you that I'm giving second thought to that. So it's quite possible that the film could be released as soon as August, educationally. But stay tuned on the commercial front.
One quick statement, anyway. Roy made a great film, and I really appreciate you doing this. And you can see the inspiration in the work. And a couple of things I appreciated was that you connected it to the present generations and the current struggles. Because most people look at Marcus Garvey as being in the past. The struggle is still here, and we need Marcus Garvey today. His spirit still lives, but it has to live in the young people. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I want to, say as well, you gave a great film. I was curious why maybe you hadn't mentioned about the Pan-African flag that he created. I did in 2020, I gave a Pan-African beach boogie and surf day to commemorate the 100th anniversary of his flag, and just curious, was it just too much to mention in that, or was it on purpose, or?
No, trust me. Time and space. I was hoping that through the symbolism that would come out, but I know that it's not everything that you can put up on screen. I was going to do a call out for the introduction of the RBG, but it just didn't work for us. Because so much things happened around the 1920 convention. I mean, and that's when the flag was introduced. So it was just a matter of just looking on the cutting room floor and just looking at things just going. And I just wanted to get a nice flow, something that was going to happen in 85 minutes that can just move and just, just have, captivate my audience so that they're not only educated and inspired, but entertained. So that's why that wasn't there. But in the follow-up to that, in our educational guide, things like that, or things that we're going to be exploring. And before the next question, I just want to know that there's a group in California, a hardworking group called the Jamaican Cultural Alliance. They are promising to do another encore screening of my Garvey film, so stay tuned for that. Jamaican Cultural Alliance.
Thank you very much. I really, really enjoyed this beautiful documentary. I wanted to ask you, what was the friction between W.E.B. Du Bois and do you know about the Marcus Garvey School in Los Angeles?
No, I do not know about the Marcus Garvey School in Los Angeles, I can say. Secondly, the friction between Garvey and Du Bois. As one of my speakers said, Marcus Garvey came and stole Du Bois' thunder. One thing I didn't mention in the film is that Garvey's attempt to colonization in Liberia, that W.E.B. Du Bois had the ears of the leader there in causing that to happen. It's something that I didn't mention in the film, but will be dealt with in other ancillary areas.
And this will be our last question.
Yeah, excellent. The relationship between Garvey and Booker T. Washington, I think it was powerful what you shared, but can you expand on that dynamic?
Well, unfortunately, they only communicated by letters. They never did. He didn't get a chance to meet him in person. As I said in the film, when Garvey came to the United States, Booker T. had died. The previous year, but Booker T. is somebody who Marcus Garvey just idolized. I mean, he saw what he was doing at Tuskegee as a blueprint for what he was trying to do in Jamaica and just take it to a wider world. But I would have loved to have seen the meeting of those two minds. It would have been something for America to behold. Again, thank you guys for coming. Spread the words about Garvey. We have some some merchandise outside when you're leaving, and that's how we get to finance our film. You're welcome.